Hey everyone, this is David Pike, the MotorCity mechanic. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some common problems that we have with the older Chryslers, the Dodge, the Jeeps, and the Rams when it comes to their remote or key fobs. I'm going to show you the most common problem. I'm going to show you a simple fix that you can order off of Amazon, so that way you don't have to replace your remote and then have to have it programmed. And that the style remotes that we're going to be dealing with are these right here. Now the problem that we see with these remotes is typically you either go to press some of the buttons and you don't get that button feel to it, you don't hear that clicking, or the other issue is as you're walking around or near your vehicle, you may hear the door locks, lock, unlock, and depending on the vehicle and the features, your rear hatch may open or your sliding doors. That's a common problem we find, and it's all related to something very simple on the inside of this remote. I'm going to take this one apart and I'll show you what we're talking about. Now, being a dealership tech, you're going to replace a lot of the remotes over the years. This is just a small portion of what I have had to remove and replace for customers. Obviously, a lot of these have different issues. We've got connection issues with some of the solder joints for the batteries. We had problems with the buttons. We had problems with just failure on the circuit board itself. But again, it's a fairly common problem, and I want to show you what we need to do to remedy that so you don't have to replace this. Because typically a remote at a dealership is almost $100 to has it programmed. You're talking about $47 on up to probably $100 and something dollars. Really depends on what their labor rate is. This right here, to fix this specific remote, we're talking about 10 bucks. Now at first glance, you would say that all three of these remotes look to be the same. Yes, there are some different buttons in different locations, but the shape of them look identical. But there's a key difference between each one of these. And only one of these we will be able to repair using this video. And I'm going to point out the other two, so if you've got one of these, you'll know right off the bat that this is not going to work. The older style remotes, they had a door on the back. You'd open it up, you'd slide your battery out, slide a new battery in, pop the cover on. The reason why we can't use this remote or do the repair on is because how the halves, the upper and lower half, are attached. They snap in at the rear, but the front are fused together, so as you start separating it, you will damage this remote. So at that point, you're replacing this one. Key difference between the other two. Once you look on the back side, look real close, there is a Phillips screw right here. That Phillips screw is a distinguishing factor between this remote and this. This one, we can't do the repair on either without having to do modifications, which we're not going to talk about right now. Inside the battery on that one goes into a little holder on the circuit board. Now, this is one of those that from time to time, if a battery doesn't, or the remote doesn't work, you can find out that this is actually broke loose. You can resolder that, you can fix it, cheap fix. Again, the difference is the way this cover is made. It's a little narrower here, where on the repair, the notch is actually wider, and this notch is actually deeper. So it's not made for this. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take apart one that we're going to do the repair on. And I want to reinstall this skeleton key, so I'm pointing something out, because a lot of people don't realize there is a skeleton key or valet key. This little thing right here, if you slide it over, which sometimes can be a little difficult, you should be able to pull the valet key out. So now you've got a means of getting in the driver's door if the battery is dead on the vehicle or something's wrong with the remote. You've got a way in. We'll separate that, and we can either use the key or use a pocket screwdriver or whatever. We're going to just pry the two halves apart. So, as I showed you a minute ago, design we can't use, batteries on the circuit board. This design, battery is in the back cover. So we're just going to push this out. Now the whole reason why we're dealing with this plastic cover is, remember, if we push down on certain buttons, we get an audible click. Other buttons we don't. If we were to turn this over and remove this circuit board, you may or may not find that there is a metal disc missing. There's one right there at the top where the panic button is, and we got another one further down, and you saw that one just came off. That's part of the issue we have. These metal discs will come unglued from the cover. And these metal discs are what you hear, that clicking sound, because they're concave. When you press them down, they flatten, and then they spring back when you release. And the circuit board is very simple. We've got a bunch of circles here depending on what features your vehicle has. The panic one up here, you can see we've got the unlock and lock. there's circles, an outer circle and a center circle. And that metal disc, when it's concave, only touches the outer circle. When you press down and you hear that click, you just flattened it. Now it completes the circuit between the inner circle and the outer circle. So if that disc comes unglued from the cover, one, that button feature may or may not work. Second, as it's moving around in there while it's in your pocket or your purse, it's going to make contact with different places on that circuit board. Different things are going to start happening. Your rear hatch in your Durango is going to open. Your Ram truck locks are going to unlock and lock. So the fix for that is, what we do is we go over here. Now Amazon sells these for about, I'd say about $7 or $8. Once you factor in shipping, I would say less than $10. You get new replacement covers with the metal discs on the back. Obviously you don't have all the discs because it only corresponds to the features, right? So that's where you can get these. Now you'll type in your year, make and model and type in the word remote. Now you'll have to scroll through a lot. You'll see a lot of remotes, but hopefully you come across these eventually. Now if you can't find this one and you've got one with remote start on here, even though yours doesn't have it, is that a do or die deal breaker? No. You know your truck doesn't have remote start, but you just want a cheap fix. Just find whichever one you can find. Now, these are identical, and this is what I was talking about before when we were looking at the different shapes on the ones that had the battery made into the circuit board. Look at the side here. You can see, obviously, this groove is not as wide as that one. Look at the end. This little portion right here is wider than that one. So there are some key differences. Now yes, you could get a razor blade. You could probably cut this out and make this work. That's on you. Nonetheless, that's all we're going to be doing with this. We're going to grab this. We're going to put it in our cover. Make sure it's fully seated. We're then going to grab our circuit board. Sit it up in here. Now this is probably a good time to clean the circuit board. Don't use no kind of abrasive chemicals. Usually you could just wipe it by hand and try to get the contacts nice and clean. If not, some electrical contact cleaner would probably work great. We're going to insert it back down in here, nice and gently. And we're going to grab our half here. That's the wrong one. This is the correct one. And we're just going to snap them together. We're going to make sure though we have a battery in. This one doesn't. Just make sure you have a battery in it, just like that one. Perfect time to replace the battery at the same time. Squeeze it, lock it in place. Bam. And now we've got a remote that is working. We're still using the internal guts. It's still programmed to the vehicle. All we did was replace the nice rubber cover. Now it's nice and clean, and we got our features working. So again, pay attention to what remote you have. So hopefully after watching this video, you now know which one of those 3 remotes you have. Remember, if you've got the door on the back, you're replacing it. You cannot fix it. If you've got the one with the Phillips screw, you're going to have to cut the rubber to make it match the shape of that remote. And third, that one is ideal. That's the one that works perfectly out of the package. So if you've got that one, it's game on. If you like the video, please give it a big thumbs up on YouTube. Don't forget you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you have comments or suggestions about anything you saw in today's video, please leave something in the comments below. Also, if you shop on Amazon, which everybody does, click below in that description. There's a link. Click on that link. Make that your Amazon homepage. And anytime you buy something, you will be helping to support this channel. Once again, everybody, thanks for watching.